Mark, as we turn our attention to the Packers, and we have the Lions game that they manhandled the Lions. This is all credit to the Packers and LaFleur having this team ready to go. But I noticed that I watched all their teams in the North. The Packers are the only team that didn't have a major change, whether it's a new head coach, brand new coordinators, or a new quarterback. And that showed in week one. But also LaFleur, the Packers seem to have twice the amount of energy for that game than the Lions, which is a lot of credit to the Packers because the Lions are almost never caught flat-footed or never are the team that doesn't have the right intensity. But LaFleur and the Packers came out, and they were the team that was aggressive and punched the Lions in the mouth, which is the first time in a long time I've seen that in that series.
Yeah, I think the coordinator thing and new coaches, you can find all those things, and I thought Detroit would probably struggle a little bit. I thought it was great that Green Bay got them as on the opening day because of that, but I don't think that, who's coordinating was what the difference there was. I think the fact that you were able to get a pass rusher of Micah Parsons, that is where the energy came from.
Yes.
And so all of the other stuff, you can make, the Bears get a new coach, all this other stuff, yep. But the Packers went from being a really good team that I think was, in the same tierdom as the Detroit Lions and as the Minnesota Vikings. And when that trade happened, I just thought that they elevated themselves, and I didn't see anything on Sunday that would make me disagree with that.
And, I don't want to belabor the point here, but, if the Packers lose Jeff Hafley or, when they didn't have a coordinator, everyone's like, you need a coordinator. I'm not saying, to me, the Packers right now can make hay and will look like the best team in the NFC North early on, and when they face the teams, later in the year, it could get different because every other team, just like the Packers when they had Jordan Love.
Do you think it will?
I do think.
You think it will look different?
For the Lions? Yes.
No, I'm saying, do you think it's going to matter? Because, there's no doubt. I think Detroit is one of the teams. They're not going to look like that. They look, Green Bay put them on the defensive all day.
Yeah.
But I think you can say, well, coordinators and coaches, it does matter. I'm not trying to poo-poo it.
Yeah.
But I think all of the conversation that we've had on this show, I think you or our Cap were saying that it was going to be the Packers are more likely to be fourth.
Yeah.
All of that conversation's over, right? Do we all agree on that?
Yeah, so that's not the conversation I'm having. They've elevated their roster. I'm just saying that, I look at the Vikings, and I say the Vikings have the best coaching staff in the NFL not to win a Super Bowl, and J.J. McCarthy is a guy that I would believe Kevin O'Connell can get a lot out of. So when the Packers have to play the Vikings late in the year, I think the Vikings could very well be a thorn in the Packers' side. I think the Lions will be better when the Packers play them later in the year. I think the Packers are the best team in the North, but I don't think it's head and shoulders yet because it's been one game. And the other teams had to figure out how to win with a new quarterback or with new coordinators or with a whole new staff. Then those teams are going to get better throughout the year like the Packers did their first year with Jordan Love as a quarterback.
Yeah, welcome to the NFL. This is how it goes.
It's a compliment to the Packers. They were
I'm not.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm not disagreeing with you. And you're saying, well, be a thorn in the side. Yeah, I don't think any of us. That's, the Lions have been the kings of the North. We've went over that over and over. Yep. And I think Sunday was you could look at it and say, well, that doesn't look like that. So do I think Detroit is going to be a good football team and, will be there when playoff time comes? I do. I think that they're going to be good. Minnesota, I'm not as sure about. But what I do think, Green Bay has elevated itself. And I don't think we have any problem saying, well, these guys will be a thorn in our side. And yes, well, the Thanksgiving Day game, that'll be a huge challenge. But do I think that it's going to be where Detroit is knocking at the door and is leading the division or even close to, at that point? I think Green Bay, depending on how tomorrow goes, and I don't want to be a prisoner of the moment because, Green Bay played great, and I think probably played about as well as any team did, especially on the defensive side of the football in week one. I just think Green Bay has elevated itself to being one of the heavy favorites and right behind Philadelphia right now. Is in the whole NFC, and I think everybody else is a tier below them when it looks like it. Now, we'll find out if Washington is or isn't tomorrow night, but right now, just judging off of what I saw, when it comes to the NFC North, I think it's Green Bay, and then it's everybody else.
Well, what? Why are you laughing?
I just think we're a little bit of prisoner of the moment. It's week
one.
Well,
we are a prisoner of the moment, but what are you supposed to react to? You can only react to week one.
Right,
and,
but
and off of week one,
I want
the
to react
Packers
to
look head and shoulders above everybody else in the NFC North. And you can't say that they
I
don't.
don't know how you can argue. Who's
No,
arguing
I'm just saying that like we all are smart. Like my whole point is like we're all smart enough to know that like it's week 1, and so like in week 4, if the Packers are 4-0 and they're dominating everyone, then we can say absolutely. But I don't know. Washington went farther and has a better quarterback, and Philadelphia went farther and is a better team. So like we'll find out on Thursday night how these teams are.
Listen, man, I'm not gonna undersell Philadelphia at all.
Yeah.
They are the champs and they deserve it. But you can't sit and say you need to get transformational players, and then when you do, act like it doesn't matter.
I'm not saying it doesn't matter, but they went from like I'm just saying it's really early to say they're head and shoulders above everyone else in the North.
You as a Bears guy, does this defense scare you a heck of a lot? Because I'll tell you this, it's certainly scared Detroit's offensive line.
Yeah, I think the Packers have the second best defense in the NFC North behind the Vikings.
You think what?
I think the Packers have the second best defense in the NFC North behind the Vikings. I think the Packers have a better. I think the Vikings have
a better track record,
and they have a better coordinator, and they have deeper overall player. They don't have the best player, but I think their overall players.
Well, we'll find out. That's the beauty of it. We'll find that out. I don't think you can sit here and we're all sitting here as pundits saying, "Oh, you need to have transformational field tilting players." You go and get a guy that matters, and we saw it in real time. Now, again, we could be on this show next week, and Washington scores 35 points and blows us out, and we'll say maybe we should pump the brakes. But I ain't pumping.
I won't say that if the Packers. I won't say that the Packers, regardless of what happens to Washington, are a top 5 team in the NFL. That I don't disagree with. It's just the head and shoulders above the rest of the NFC North.
Yeah, I feel like if they blow the Packers out, you're gonna be like they're not a top 5 team.
It's week 2. You know, it's week 2.
Jimmy, we can say they're head and shoulders above where Detroit is. We just watched it.
Now after week 1, yes. I'm just saying.
At this point in the season,
I think at the end of my point is
what else?
Well,
Jim,
I'm saying at the end of the year, I think at the end of the year, the Packers will be in a dogfight. What's that?
Let's talk about it then.
Yeah, I'm saying that's what I'm getting at. Yeah, currently, we're 1 game in. But Mark, you would know as much as anyone else, 1 game is 1 game.
I totally agree. But you know what else? That 1 game can spiral into more, and the confidence builds. And I know this. It works that way on the other side too. And your Chicago Bears, I'm guessing whoever loses that game against Detroit this week is in big trouble.
Yeah.
That I won't say.
And I would say more Detroit than Chicago because Detroit is obviously a team that has aspirations to get back to the NFC Championship game.
Sure.
Well, and I think I told that to Jim before the game or before our show today, where I was just like, I feel like Packers fans got to be hoping that the Lions annihilate the Bears, so then it makes the Packers look that much better. Because if the Bears end up beating the Lions, we're all going to be like, well, I don't know, we're going to hate on,
No. Molly, as a Packer fan, the Lions are a much bigger threat to the Green Bay Packers than the Bears.
I think the Vikings are the number 1 threat to the Packers, but yes.
Well, they don't play.
Yeah, I'm just saying when they will, and that's I think.
Yeah, but you watched the first 3 quarters of that game. You watched J.J. McCarthy in that offense.
Oh,
Were you impressed?
Did you write off Jordan? I'm impressed with J.J. McCarthy in the 4th quarter scoring 3 touchdowns and the way that every one of those players said he rallied them specifically. And Brian Flores is, I think, the best defensive coordinator in football. And I think he can scheme the hell out of things and confuse young QBs and old QBs. So I think Vikings defense is for real. I think Kevin O'Connell is the best offensive mind maybe in all the NFC. And I believe in that coaching staff. And I think they'll get the most out of McCarthy. And I think McCarthy, all he has to be is Brock Purdy. And Brock Purdy's gone farther than the Packers have gone in the playoffs. So that's what I look at with the Vikings.
So, Jim, if you had to put any of your hard-earned money down on someone to win the NFC North, who are you picking?
Do I get odds for the Vikings?
It's dead even right now. Who are you picking?
No, this is the conversation we had yesterday. The Vikings are the number 1 contender against the Packers for the division. That's how I'm wording it.
That's not what I asked.
Well, right. So I'd put money on the Packers. Absolutely.
Okay, okay.
Yeah.
He just wanted you to say.
You're literally having the same conversation.
You said head and shoulders. You said head and shoulders, and I think head and shoulders is a bit dramatic.
I don't think so, and I don't think you think so either.
I think the Vikings are going to be there. That's my 2 cents, and I'm bummed about it because I don't want J.J. McCarthy and the Vikings. That was the team I thought the Bears could finish 3rd in front of.
Sure, Molly. Do you think that Detroit's going to finish ahead of Minnesota?
Finish probably yes. However, at this point in time, if we're judging just off of week 1, just like we were about the Packers being better than these other teams, I would have to say that the Vikings then would be second to the Packers, right? And I don't think anybody could say any different.
Well, it's because they're 1-0, right? But yeah, I just think Packer fans, and we all feel great, and I love watching all that Honolulu blue dejectedly walk out of Lambeau. But I still think that the Detroit Lions will be the second best team in the NFC North. That's what I think.
So, Tash, I want to move on to tomorrow's game. It's crazy that the game is like week 2 is already here tomorrow. We're asking a poll question of which team has the higher ceiling, the Packers or the Commanders. Where do you land on that?
Green Bay.
Why?
I think they're well. You can look at Jaden Daniels, and he's a stud. He is a really good quarterback, but I think adding Micah Parsons just changes everything. He had 4.5 sacks against Washington in their game last year. The entire defense, I don't have any clue how good Washington's defense is going to be. I don't. I think their offensive line is going to struggle against our defensive line. And I think you're going to hear that over and over. Detroit, they had a bunch of changes in the middle part of their offensive line, and they will get better. But they have 2 really good offensive tackles that had a really hard time handling the speed and power of Green Bay's defensive line. I just think the defense is driving the boat here. Offensively, we always want to have the great quarterback. We want that. And I think Jordan Love is a really good quarterback that still has a way to go consistency-wise. But this offense is not going to be asked to do the same things that it's been asked to in the Favre and Rodgers era, at least not this year. And that makes me feel really bullish about why I would say Green Bay.
And I don't disagree with that. This is a defensive team, and Micah Parsons is a multiplier. He makes Rashawn Gary better. He makes Lucas Van Ness better, along with other players, because you can't double team. Like, those players aren't good enough necessarily to be double teams, but when Micah's getting double teamed, then they get single team. It's a mess for offensive coordinators to have to figure out.
It's a butterfly effect.
Yes.
It's a butterfly effect.
Yes, that's a good way to describe it.